Yep. Okay. We're good to go?
I believe so.
Okay. So let's start out with a roll call to see who's on here. And then we'll determine if we've met our quorum or not.
Okay.
So we got Steve, Mango, Ken Sparrow, Kate, Doug. Is there anybody else who's on the call?
Hey, Beachler's here.
Hey.
All right, that's good.
Perfect. And see Judy Girardelli from MDL?
Yes. I've asked her to join us when we get down to the candidate issue section. She'll be giving us some background information on the Redmine mind map plugin.
Sounds good. Okay.
This is Judy. I just called in. Sorry I'm late.
No worries. We were just taking our roll call. So even with the new quorum definition, I'm trying to determine, I don't think we meet the NWS, but we're missing
right.
enough line office participation.
Correct.
Okay. Well, we came close.
Yep, we did.
One off, and maybe somebody will join later. I don't know if I was going to just look at the invitation online. It looks like one thing with the invitation online, John.
Yes.
Our Alaska region reps are Nathan Eckstein and Jeff Osinski. It looks like Sam Shea is still on the invitation on the Google Calendar invite.
Okay. So I'll remove him?
Yeah, you can probably remove him.
Gotcha.
Okay. With that, we'll move on to the next part of the agenda. I wanted to, before you move on, did you add something about a new VIT chair or no?
No, I figured that'd be part of the welcome.
Okay. All right. So sounds good. So as part of the welcome, we'll make the formal announcement that David or Dave, tell me which you go by.
David's fine.
Okay. David Beachler, who is the Sioux in Marquette, Michigan, is the Central Region VIT representative and is now accepted the chairmanship. So the chairmanship has gone back to Central Region. It once was in Central Region, and now it's back there. And David, do you have anything that you wanted to let people know or inform people of?
No, I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm really excited about the VIT team and where VLab has come. I think when John Eyes was involved with this before he retired, John had done a lot, and I think moving forward, we're really in a good position here, getting more attention to VLab, and that's the ultimate goal, is to get more people on VLab and not just in the Weather Service. So, you know, I think we've got a good team and a good group here, and really excited to be a part of that.
Sounds good. So as we go forward, we'll David as the chair, myself as the vice chair, will continue to help with John's assistance, run the meetings, and run anything else that we're doing. So with that, is there anything else, John, that we should mention? Or if not, we'll go on to Ken.
All right, yeah. Go ahead, Ken.
Okay, so this is just a quick update on where things stand. So again, our energies as of late, as is the last time I spoke to the group, we're really focused on the upgrade to DXP, which is going to enable us to do some, address some things, some concerns that have been out there with regard to the workflow for uploading content. I think that people are going to find the system as a whole much better, I'm hoping. And so we're working on that, and that's taking a lot of our time. Single sign-on, the services have been rolled out to all but Jenkins of the VLab services. Jenkins is used by a very small percentage of our users, so getting that out is a very low priority. So while single sign-on was a 9 in terms of impact score, we don't need to, the priority in my mind, and hopefully in your guys' mind, is much lower now that we have it enabled with Redmine, Garrett, and also VLCS. So, so that's the number 1 item there. We've already added a field to identify communities by the line office. I'll check and see. I think that we've got that rolled out, but I'll have to confirm that. That's number 33711. I think all the changes are there, but I know we were going back and forth on, there was one of the portlets that we make available where people can check that. There were some issues with the changes, so I had to push that back to the developer. So I'll have to check on that to see if that's completely out there or if there's more work that needs to be done there.
Hey, John, just
sure.
A quick check on that. I don't think that exists, does it?
The line office information?
Yeah.
Not that I'm aware of, but I think Ken is probably much more familiar with what's going on there.
Yeah, so we're definitely populating the line office in a custom field that's stored within VLCS, and so it's just a matter of making that viewable to users.
Okay.
So it's already there. It's just the portlet that's displaying it, and I think that was tied in with some other changes. So so anyway, that's where that stands. Preview as a user from the owner's settings. I believe, I'm trying to remember, I identified an approach for doing this. We just have to find the time to make that change, and that'll most likely be after the end of the year, and we finish our work for the migration. What we want to be able to do is similar when you're in VLCS at the top, there's edit controls option. I think that's the name for it. Basically, if you're a site owner or community administrator, giving you an option to basically check a box up in the dock bar, that would make it so that you're like a normal user. And that would give you the ability to see your community from a normal site member's perspective, because that's a problem. Because oftentimes, if permissions and things like that aren't right, you have to go to someone else in your community, and we recognize that that can be frustrating. So I think that shouldn't be too difficult to implement, but just because of priorities, that's what we're working on, or it'll have to be there. The next one, which I've got on hold at the moment, VLab Collaboration Service would benefit from using Liferay personal pages. These are pages that are going to be specific to you. So there would be things like the Redmine. If you have projects in Redmine, you'll be able to see your issues within it. You'll be able to see your subscriptions. So it would be a page that you can go to, and we're planning on rolling that feature out with the DXP migration. So again, that'll be a nice thing for people to have, but we're going to roll that out as part of DXP. The DDL needs the capability to upload files directly from your user computer. that's coming with DXP. So at the end of the year, when we roll out DXP, you'll be able to do that. The dynamic data list, sort, filter, organize. There's a change out there that one of our developers put in place, and that has, I ran into an issue with that, and so I've pushed that back to the developer, and I'll get, for the next meeting that we have, hopefully we should have that rolled out. So I think that that one was really close. So, so that's that. The Redmine benefit from a liferay-like notification capability. That's actually something that we've been exploring some port or plugins for Redmine from a company called Easy Redmine. They actually do have a notification type capability. There's some costs involved with these plugins. Some of them aren't too bad. I'm not sure about the notification. If that's the way that they've structured it from this company, is that some of the plugins aren't, they're based in Europe, but it's like we're talking about like 500 euros or something like that, which is very doable. But then the whole package, which I think includes this notification capability, is quite a bit more expensive. And so we would have to make a determination, how much do we need this sort of capability, and take a look at that. So I need to take an action to see if we can pay for the notification capability separate from the others, and then it might be doable. But it looked like it was cost prohibitive to use all of the plugins that this company offers. So anyway, that's where we are with that. I think developing something like that in-house would be take too much time, but taking something that someone else has done would be a better option. So enhancing, next one on the list, 21.152, enhance project and user-specific notifications. I don't remember what that is. Could you click on that real quick, please, John? Oh, okay. Yeah, this is, looks like maybe there's a plugin available for that. So I'll have to follow up. This isn't something that's been high on my list, but obviously it's a 7 in terms of impact score, so I need to look it up. I'll have to get back to you the next time on that one. So the chat feature in Redmine, I think I'll have to look. I believe that Easy Redmine, they have something like that as well. So that's something, again, that we can look at. Same logic applies that I talked about before. The improvements to the My Communities VLab page. So we made some of those changes. I know there were others that Kongming had suggested that we haven't begun yet. So there have been improvements to it in terms of My Community is much more streamlined. It's less, there are pop-ups now or hovers for a lot of the content. You can find out who the community owners are directly from there. So that's, we implemented the things that were easier to do. Some of the stuff that's left that Kongming had suggested isn't quite so easy to do, so that's got a lower priority at the moment for us. The develop portlet, the next one down, 2.3.24, this is an old one, but that shows all the issues that are reported by you. That is tied in with the personal pages, and we should be able to have that out when we roll out DXP, because that development work has been done. So, and then moving on to the 6s enhance Jenkins to provide static URL for latest build status. That I think was just a plugin, and so I'll have to go back and look at that. That might be fairly straightforward to put in place. Let me see. Yeah, so that I'll make a note to come back to, because that's, plugins within Jenkins are pretty easy to roll out, especially. So we should be able to do that pretty quickly. So, and similar, or make join date visible. So I'm not sure about the status on that. That's join date for the community, is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Oh,
so,
well, actually, it looks like users, yeah.
Okay. All right, so it looked like I've assigned it to Lingnan a long time ago, but we don't have much of an update there, so I'll have to ping her. So I can do that. And John Ice had recommended that there be more similarities between the UI. So we've been DXP. There's some improvements there, and then also we're trying to. We've got some additional help with someone from NSSL that has a UI background, and so she's been helping us with the new theme development, as well as theming some of the portlets within VLCS. We're also looking at making, I know this is specific, well, this is for VLab portlets, but we're also looking at trying to tie in the different VLab services more closely together and providing ways to get from one service like Redmine to VLCS and back and forth, kind of like what Google does with the grid icon on the upper right. So, so we're doing some things that were in the spirit of this request. This is a pretty generic request, and so perhaps with DXP we'll be able to close this one out. So the provide Agile Scrum support, that can be closed. That's been rolled out 21.829, and it's being used by multiple projects within Redmine. So that's fortunate. We actually got to one that we can close out. And then unified editor across VirtualLab, we made changes to that. That's 2572. We did, when we got that request quite a long time ago, we made some changes to make sure that the CK editor was consistent. I think there's one case, maybe with blogs, where it isn't, and maybe that's why we still have this ticket open. So, so that's where I'm going to stop. So there are some others further down. John, is it possible for you to bring up the, I wanted to show some of the work that we're doing with regard to the landing page too. So if you could bring up the development instance of VLCS. Thanks.
1 second. Alrighty, logging in, and here we go. So let me spend.
So one of the things that we thought needed some improvements was the landing page, and specifically that welcome on the right. If you go out to production, you'll notice that we have some icons, and it's the same content that's there, but it's very spread apart, and you have to scroll down to be able to get to it. The icons are, so you can see there, the icons are more, they have more depth to them. They're also more of a resource in terms of, so it takes longer to load the page because of that. So to be more consistent with the theme that we rolled out about, I don't know, 9 months ago, we're moving with this option that you see on the right there. So I wanted you guys to be able to provide some feedback if you've got it. But if you scroll over those icons, they change, so you get some feedback based upon that. There's also the ability to, it's just through CSS that we can change the color and things like that on the icons. And it's the same functionality, but we're trying to tighten things up, have it be more responsive in terms of the resources. And so anyway, and then the other thing that we're doing is we're trying to make sure that people are aware that we do have an info list, that if you're a user of VLab and you want to get notified if there's an unscheduled outage, this is timely because we had one today and we had one last week. Knock on wood, we had been very stable for the last couple of months, and there were some performance issues within VLab that we finally figured out what was the root cause, and so that we hadn't had any slowness or downtime for quite some time. So anyway, we're going to roll out this change too, so that people are aware that you can join up, and if there is an outage, there's a way for you to find out about the status, and we try to be on top of that. So this morning, we were notified that they had to move a couple of our VMs because this is related to the work that happened last week with the chassis going down, where blades were running. So as I think everyone on this call knows, VLab is hosted in IDT. They're using VMware, and that's all hosted within blades on individual chassis. Last week they had a chassis go down that basically sunk any VM that was on any of those blades. Unfortunately, VLab was on some of them, or some of our systems were on it. And then when they came back up, they brought things up, but they needed to do additional work on those VMs. We found out immediately before the outage this morning, so we shut down services and were able to bring it back up within an hour. So hopefully that's the end of it. But if you are concerned or you want to be in the loop, go out and subscribe, and we'll put this blog. We have this information elsewhere within the site, within the user's guide, but we wanted to highlight it so that people are aware of how to join up. So anyway, if you got feedback on either of these items, let us know. You can send it to VLab.admin, or you can send it to me directly, Kenneth.spur@no.gov. And that is it for me for right now. Any questions for me?
So you'll send that updated landing page back out when you're ready for it to show up, or will you send out the preview link to the VIT maybe?
I'll send you guys a preview link right now so you can take a look at that and then let us know. The other thing we're talking about is the My Communities portlet that was on the left. We're discussing whether or not it makes sense to keep that there. It is available on the Communities tab, which is the third tab over after. So you've got that portlet.
Yeah.
You do, at least for me personally, when I log onto the site, I don't use a My Communities. I go to My Communities drop down in the upper right from the dock bar, and that's how I get to the communities that I'm a member of. If you want to join a new community or something like that, I often go to the communities page, because there we've given more space to that portlet, and it's pretty tight on the landing page. So anyway, that's something, if you have an opinion on it, please let us know. So.
Yeah, I think that might be something that we talk about with some of the other VIT tickets that we'll talk about in a little bit, and also with some of the strategic planning as well. So maybe we capture some of that in there.
Okay, that would be great. Okay, thank you.
Okay, John, we're onto the candidate issues review section.
All righty. Cool. So just to remind everybody, we receive input from users of the virtual lab. That input gets captured as issues, and then once you as a representative of your organization have sort of quality controlled it and got it to the point where it's ready to be reviewed by the rest of the team, we then bring it to the floor of a meeting and ask folks to essentially decide whether we should endorse this particular request or suggestion. So that's what we'll be doing now. We have a number of these. Some of them are the result of the pseudo survey that we did back in, say, August, September timeframe. And some of them are new items that folks have brought to the table. The first one that I was going to talk about, I was going to let the suggester actually provide some motivation for why she suggested it, but unfortunately Judy has had to leave, I believe, and
I'm still here, John. I have like 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay. Do you want to quickly tell them why you think this is a useful plug-in for Redmine?
Sure. So I'm the project manager for the LAMP team, and we have a number of people on our task between contractors, federal people. We had a SCEP recently. We have 2 NRAP people. So it's a rather large team, and we have lots of different things going on, and lots of different projects with different milestones. So I was looking for a way to visually capture all the different tasks and what everybody was working on in the progress for project management. And I stumbled across mind mapping and found a mind mapping tool that might work with Google, and it was suggested to me to see if the virtual lab had anything. So I talked to Ken, and he gave me a trial of the Redmine plugins for project management. So it's 3 components. One is Easy WBS, and that is WBS's work breakdown structure, and that basically is a mind map. And a Gantt chart, Easy Gantt chart, as well as Resource Manager. And just to quickly give you a summary of what each of those different things does. The Easy WBS, basically you start with a clean slate and you just build kind of a tree of all the different things you're working on, the different dependencies. So I have a task that we have funding for that I just started. I just listed the steps, and from there you can say how long they're going to take. You can have a start date, end date. From there you can build a Gantt chart. So it automatically builds a Gantt chart based on your mind map. Your mind map is very nice because it's contained visually on one screen. So while you could do something like that on a whiteboard or with PowerPoint, it is extremely easy to do in this Easy WBS. Basically, you just, if you want to add up, you can very easily with just a hotkey add a child, a sibling, or a parent to any of the different tasks that you have. And then you just type, or you can cut and paste into that. So I was very quickly able to lay out half of my project within a very short time once I figured out how to do it. And by adding the start and end dates, then it automatically, if you go to Easy Gantt chart, it builds the Gantt chart, which I think is preferable to how we do it in VLab right now, which is the Gantt chart comes about by issues. So you have to literally type in all the different issues, and then that creates the Gantt chart, where it seems to me like the tasks and the subtasks should be what goes into the Gantt chart, and the issues should even be a subset of that. So what VLab does now, to me, is almost like bottom up, where this is like top to top down. And so I really, really liked interacting with the mind map Easy WBS. The Gantt chart was nice, but I couldn't see everything all at once. You had to scroll around, which was a little bit cumbersome, but it was really nice that it basically built it for you. And you can have relations between the different tasks. You can assign the different tasks to different people. And then you also have a resource manager, which basically shows everybody on your team and all the tasks. So you can organize it by the different people, what they're working on. You can see all the unassigned tasks at once very quickly and easily. And I enjoyed that also, but we only had in the test environment 3 people on the team. So what more you can do with that, I'm not sure. But I definitely really enjoyed the mind mapping, easy WBS, because as far as I know, there is no other way for us to do that right now, to do a mind map with the tools that we have, either through Google or through VLab. The Gantt chart, we do have something like that, and probably the resource manager, but it's nice that this plugin allows you to tie everything together. So I'm afraid I have to go. I don't know if anybody has any quick questions I can answer in about a minute or so.
All right. Well, thank you, Judy. I really appreciate you providing us the, sort of the insight to why you think this would be a useful tool.
Sure, and I've written up my kind of comments about it and put that into a Google document. So if anybody is looking for some examples of what I mean when I say a mind map, I have cut and paste into there what that is, and I'd be happy to share that with anybody who's interested in it. Ken has it. I don't know if you have, I think you have that too, John, but if not, I can easily share it with you. And that might give somebody a better example of what I'm talking about, because there are actual visual examples in that document.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, well, if there's nothing else, I'm going to run to my other meeting. Thanks so much for having me.
Yo, no problem.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Ken, did you want to add anything to what Judy said?
No, I think she was pretty thorough. The only thing I would stress is the resource management. EMC project managers have requested that too. That's actually a portlet, or not portlet, it's a plugin that enables users within a Redmine project to be able to specifically look at overallocation of resources being people. So when issues and tickets are created, you assign those to individuals. And one of the basic constructs of project management is making sure to distribute the load and make sure that people aren't over allocated. And this tool allows you to do that. So that's something that is a pretty core to doing project management. Of course, it depends upon whether all the tasks that people are working on are within Redmine as to how effective it would be. But at a minimum, it would give you an indication of whether or not, from Redmine's perspective, people have availability or not. So that's that.
All right, cool. Thank you. Alrighty, so if there are no questions, and certainly if there are, please let me know. Otherwise, perhaps we can get a consensus on whether we should endorse this or take some other action.
I'll second the nomination for it to endorse it.
Okay. All right. Good. Then we will indicate that that particular candidate has been endorsed, and it'll make its way to our ranking spreadsheet for further input from the team members. All righty. So now I'm going to move on to another recommendation. And was there a comment or question? Okay. Just want to make sure. So let's see. I don't know. Okay. Let me go here first. So basically, we have emails that get generated through the VLab, and they have the ability to format them, and I'll show you that briefly here in just a second. But oftentimes, if you take just the default formatting, you wind up getting something that looks like this. And Steve Smith a while back suggested that perhaps something needs to be done to make that more effective at providing the right information. And down here you can see that this is sort of what the formatting looks like for the particular portlet that generated this. So what the proposal here is that we would basically establish a standard, and we'll call this a best practice, where we would identify key information that needs to be in each portlet generated piece of email, and then we could establish the defaults along those lines. So once we as the team, the VIT, have decided what these key pieces of information are, then we can establish that in the default, and then also let community owners know this is what they should do, or encourage them to come up to that level or that standard with their existing say forums or blogs, etc. And just to show you an example, we had this morning, let me see if I can find it here real quick. So where's the VIT? There we go. So here's an example this morning. Oops, sorry. Okay. Now it helps when hello. Okay, so in this case, down at the bottom, we've added, posted by, and then you provide the person who posted it, posted to community, and then you can clearly see that this was the Virtual Lab Improvement Team community, and then there's a link you can provide in the formatting, and in this case, we simply provided a header that says, read the entire thread, go to this link. So that the idea here is that we would come up with this standard, make it available to community owners, and then build it into the default settings that come with each new community. Alrighty. So does anyone have any questions on that?
Yeah, so what's the default?
The default.
And what changed?
Okay, so the default, let's see if I can find it here. Yeah. So this is kind of, now this probably varies from portlet to portlet, but for I think this is probably the forum portlet, you get dear, and then this would be whoever it's being sent to. This is an auto-generated email from the portlet name, portlet. Then you get this is a document with the title. So this is actually from a document library here, and has been added to folder such and such. And you get sincerely from a name and so forth. And it looks like this when you get it in your inbox. Dear Stephen Chattel, this is Smith. This is an auto-generated email from the media portlet, and blah blah blah. So in this particular case, it might be nice, if possible, to include, actually it does give you the document title, but does it tell you where it's from? I guess maybe not. Anyway, you would have to go in and look and see, but I think you can probably provide the name of the community that this is in, and that way you can more easily find the particular document that has been so nicely notified that it exists or has been updated or so forth. So it does vary from from portlet to portlet, and so we'd have to go in and look at them individually and then decide what we want them to look like in general. Does that answer your question, Brian?
Yeah, I think so. I think what I'm thinking is we might need a little bit more about what the change should be in the description. I mean, we have to come to an agreement upon what changes might be made.
Right. So the issue, the ticket is asking us to do that.
Okay, now I get it.
Yeah. So we would, ask somebody or somebodies to systematically go through the various portlets and identify what the current formatting is, decide if that's sufficient or not sufficient, and then if it isn't, what the best formatting or a better formatting would look like, and content, so forth. And then we could agree that this is what the VIT recommends in terms of a standard. But this step here is just to say, yeah, that's something we want to undertake.
Okay.
Any other questions? So are we going to endorse this one, or do we need additional information? Or
I say endorse it, and we'll rank it. Maybe just somehow clarify that would be the VIT needing to come up with best practice, a best practice.
Okay.
If it's not already noted in there.
Will do. Okay. So 2 down. Brian, you're up with the next several candidates.
Sorry, I was on mute. The first one is 39652, make a searchable user guide. So you can bring that up. And again, these are mostly from the pseudo survey. And I don't know if it, I haven't seen it existing at the moment. The user guide is pretty static, at least at the moment. I don't know, Ken or John, if you know something different than I do on that.
Yeah, my understanding is that you can't specifically search the user's guide. So you could search, you know, using
what we could do, yeah, there's potentially an easy thing for this where we could use a category of user guide, and that would allow someone to select on that. We are looking at making some other fairly significant changes to the search to make it easier for people, but that's something that we could do pretty quickly, where we would just categorize each of the user guide pages as being user guides, and then and then people could select that from the categories listing. So we'll have to. That's one idea that might be pretty easy to implement. So
because right now, I mean, if you were to search, the only search thing you can use is the search box on VLab.
Yeah. So again,
there's no specific community for the user guide, or like the user guide is like a separate.
Well, the user guide it's part of the main VLab community that you land on. It's been built out within that community. So if you say, rather than everything, you just say this community and you're in that community, it's gonna you'll get the user guide in there. The problem is, and I have this complaint too, and we just haven't focused energy on it. We need to, is how do you restrict it to that? The other thing, so yeah.
Or
okay, so yeah, maybe I would still nominate this as sort of a subset of. I got you know, there's 2 tickets here. There's this one, and then there's the next one on search in general. But I think we might have quality control this, and I would suggest they become a nominated candidate. Yeah, I've got 3 things here that are somewhat all related, but somehow make the user guide more searchable. So I would nominate this as a candidate VIT ticket for ranking.
Yeah, we may want to do something too where when you go to the user guide, you have a search field there that allows you to search specifically right within it. So
yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Okay.
and you kind of said that you were thinking about doing that. So, does anybody second this for a ranking?
Yeah, this is David. I would second that.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so the next one I have there, John, is the VLab landing page should serve as more of a navigation aid. Again, this was from a Sue, from the Sue Doe survey done in the Weather Service. And this goes really to, Ken, what you were talking about earlier, that the landing page doesn't really, the commenter didn't feel it portrayed Redmine versus the communities. It's not a clear landing page. And this goes back to some of our discussions before about what is the landing page of VLab and how we improve some of that. So this might be a broader thing, but now, Ken, that you've talked about it and you were thinking about making some changes, maybe we want to capture that and rank it and then discuss with what you sent and continue that discussion and maybe table some of it for the strategic planning team, but at the same time, we can look if there's any recommendations we want to make at this point. So that's a way of capturing that. Kind of more, we're ranking here again, we're ranking that the VIT will maybe come up with some suggestions for improvements to the VLab landing page, as opposed to specifically saying that there's something to do for the VLab support team. So again, do we have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Steve. Okay, so we'll put that on the list as well. And then the last one that I had was improving the search functionality. There were a lot of comments about this. Needs to improve the search. I think I put some things in there people can add as necessary. So that's talks about more relevant results, configuring results by most hits or most recent. So improvements overall to the search. Ken, is there anything specific that you might want to mention on that? Does it require an overhaul or something like that?
No. One of the nice things with DXP is, so when we were looking at performance and at VLab as a whole, we actually did implement something called Elasticsearch, and this was it got implemented about 10 months ago, or maybe about 11 months ago. And we had to use an older version of Elasticsearch to be able to, it really, people don't appreciate it now, but it sped up the site quite considerably. But there were some issues that we've run into with regard to the older version of Elasticsearch. That's being upgraded to a newer version within DXP. We've tested some of the issues that people are having, like with quotes and things like that, and those have all been fixed, so that'll be good. And then one of the other things that we're looking at that I think would help is, when we built in the AWIPS integrated reference tool, AIR, one of the pieces of feedback we got was that most people really want a basic search results, kind of like what you get with Google, where it's fairly simplified, but then you give the ability to go to more advanced features and search results where you can really stratify that and use facets and things. So I think the direction that we're headed for with the DXP is we'll get the benefits of using this newer search infrastructure. So that'll make search overall faster and get the results that we're expecting. But then on top of that, our plan is to streamline the interface so that people get, a much more simplified version. Because today, when you do a global search, there's just too much going on, and but not necessarily take away the flexibility of being able to get to all that other, dive in and things. But by default, it would be a streamlined instance. So that's what we're doing, or that's what we're thinking right now. We haven't actually started putting that in place, but we're looking at doing something pretty quickly for that because we know it's an important area. And I suspect, based on the ranking after this is done, that you guys will agree. But so.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So nominating that for ranking, and do I have a second? Second from anybody?
You sure do. Yeah. Second.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Steve. All right. Last one for now. David?
Sure, yeah. If you want to go ahead and click on that. This was a request that came in from fellow Sue, and he talked about, and I actually included a PNG image there to kind of show what he was referencing. So if you want to click on that PNG image, you see the long URL there. It's rather lengthy, and so what he is requesting, and I think this actually is a good idea here, is to either replace that URL that's displayed right now with the word link or something else that we come up with, and then you get the long URL if you mouse over that link word or the link itself. So pretty straightforward in what he was requesting, and I think sounds pretty reasonable that actually might be a good idea, but I'm not sure the complexity of making that happen. So that's why I'd put this forward as a possible candidate to look at making a change to. So that's really all I had to kind of show on that. But again, I felt like that was a worthy thing to explore, because if you have multiple links in there, you can imagine how long that quickly fills up.
Yeah, from a technical side, I think that would be pretty easy to do. So, but yeah, I agree. That's not very user friendly.
All right, I'll second it. So we have that. And John, I think we can move on. So we got some issues to rank, and there's one issue that is outstanding to rank, which is the Ideas Marketplace. We are missing a couple Weather Service rankers. Central, who's on the call today, and Pacific and Southern. Hopefully, John, maybe you could follow up with Pacific and Southern again, and Fisheries. Although Fisheries, their ranking has been few and far between. So I would maybe concentrate a little bit more on Pacific and Southern. And David, if you have an ability to look at that and rank it, that would be much appreciated.
As soon as this call is over, I'll look at that and take care of that.
Perfect. So John, just maybe make it to the next call.
Okay.
That, we take this up again.
Will do.
So we're already sort of running short on time here. Then the next agenda item is the quorum definition. You sent out the vote status on that, so we're good to go. Have you made the change on our page yet?
Nope, not yet, but I will do so after our meeting.
Okay, perfect. So I think we're ready for that. That's done. Next is strategic planning team update. We've made progress on that front. Had an initial call with the strategic planning team, which is Bill Ward from the Weather Service Pacific region, Reed, who is part of our team. He's also on the strategic planning team, and Jonathan Blaze, who is a SUE in the NWS Eastern region. So those are the strategic planning team. We talked about some things. We had some actions, including helping to work with them to maybe at least do a broad charter. Doesn't have to be anything too specific, but at least put down some dates and definitions on there, so that they would be able to use that as a document of reference, a document to be able to show what the group is setting out to accomplish. Is that kind of the summary as you remember it, John?
Yep, absolutely.
And there's going to be follow-up discussions. The action item on the charter, can you take is that for, and I have to go back and look, was that for the VIT to do, or were they going to come up with something as a suggested charter?
I think
Strategic planning team.
Yeah, I think they were going to take a shot at it.
Okay, sounds good. And then I think they were going to have us look at it.
Right.
So expect that to come. So that's the update on the strategic planning team. They're having a call in 2 weeks. And John, was there anything specific you wanted to say about the pseudo survey today, or maybe table it for next time?
Yeah, I think we just don't have enough time to go into it. So best thing would be to address it at our next meeting.
Okay. And what was this one on status of new issues processing?
This is just a reminder that folks need to go in and review their the projects, their tickets that are in a status of new. So I have just done that.
Okay. And open action item review from today?
From today, okay. Yes.
Well, yeah, we'll go back to the other actions later, so maybe new action item review.
Yeah, I think we're running out of time. So, all right, so I need to remove Sam Shea from the meeting agenda. And I'm going to provide either I or Ken will provide a update landing page link that takes you to the the dev site. And then I need to provide a link to the resource that Judy had referenced, the Google sheet, or I think it was Google Sheet, that has some images of the mind map app plugin, and update the quorum definition in our homepage, and follow up with those who have not ranked the one ranking spreadsheet item, and see if I can get them to give us their assessment. Okay. And that's it. Anything that I missed?
All right. I don't think so. When's our next call? I think you had a mistake in the agenda.
Is it? Okay, well, let me just go straight to the calendar then. I show, let's see, November 28th at 1 p.m. Eastern.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. After Thanksgiving, I hope everyone enjoys the holiday, and we'll see everybody then.
All right, thanks.
And talk to you all then. Thanks.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.